Okay, there I am. Hi, I'm Sherry Austin, registered nurse and executive longevity advisor. I help leaders build systems that allow them to sustain high performance over time. What that really means is this: I help leaders stay clear and decisive and effective without burning out in the process. I'm going to be honest with you today because I'm human like everybody else. And I don't just advise CEOs, senior leaders on it. I live this principle myself. And today is not a full capacity day. And I really had to institute the recovery infrastructure that I advise CEO leaders with on myself because it goes beyond sleep trackers, it goes beyond measuring steps and HRV, and all of those things are important. That's foundational for our physiological infrastructure in order for us to lead. Those things are definitely foundational and important, but as humans, we don't always get the sleep quality that we need. We're not always eating, nutritionally metabolic sound meals. We're not always getting in the physical movement that we need. And it's imperative that everyone's going to have a one off. That's just life. But when you have a system in place, it's easier to get back on track and to get back in doing it again. So most high performing leaders that I speak with, they're tracking their recovery. Like I said, we're tracking the sleep scores. We're tracking our HRV, which is our heart rate variability. That tells us how well we adapt to stress or not. We're tracking our steps. Are we getting in those 10K steps a day or 8K or whatever your numbers are? So you know your numbers. But then you're asking yourself, why does my performance still feel inconsistent? What's going on? You're clear one day, you're slower the next, you're focused in the morning, you're foggy by the afternoon. And here's the problem: tracking is not the same as building. And if recovery isn't built into your system, your performance will always fluctuate. So today I'm going to show you why that's happening, where your system is breaking, and how to start designing recovery like infrastructure. At the executive level, I see the same pattern. Leaders are highly aware, highly capable, highly driven, but they're operating inside of a system that doesn't support recovery. So what's showing up? Decision drag, increased rework, subtle second guessing, slower processing speed. And this is not dramatic burnout. It's just subtle degradation. And that's more dangerous because it doesn't force change, it just quietly impacts. And that quiet impact grows slow and steady and can sometimes be catastrophic results going downstream in the company. So this subtle degradation, it affects your decision quality, it affects the team performance, it affects your strategic clarity. So you do end up thinking something feels off, but you can't really put a name to it. Because again, we're tracking, we just don't have a system in place. So where are you feeling this most now? And these are questions I want you to just ask yourself. Think quietly to yourself. Are you feeling it most in the morning? Is your morning clarity off? And usually that's a sign because your sleep quality is probably off. So your morning clarity is going to follow that. Is it your midday focus? Are you getting in protein when you break your fast? Or if you're a breakfast person, are you getting in 30 grams of protein first thing in the morning? Or are you eating donuts and cereal and sugar? Is it at the end of the day decision fatigue? Are you protecting your strategic windows in the morning when you're the sharpest, if you're the sharpest in the morning? I just want us to think about that for a minute and just acknowledge that. For me, I know at the end of the day, I'm tired. And usually what gets me through is cognitive resets, but that's something for another day. That's part of your recovery system. I build those into my days. I'm an intermittent fasting girly, so I will sip on protein coffee in the morning, but I always have protein forward meals so I don't get those midday crashes. And I know because at the end of the day, I'm mentally fatigued that I protect my decision mornings, especially the first couple of decision windows that I have earlier in the day. Recovery is not rest when you're exhausted. It is not a weekend reset. It is not a vacation fix. That's reactive. Now you're reacting to a problem that's already there. Recovery at a high performance level is designed capacity management. It's infrastructure, just like your calendar system, your financial system, your operational system. You don't wing those. So why are you winging your recovery? When your recovery fails, and it will fail under pressure, your leadership pressure is going to fail also. It's going to compound and fail. There are 3 layers to the recovery system. Your baseline recovery. This is your daily system. This is where your stability comes from. It's not optimization, it's stability. Most leaders disrupt this daily. And what matters is your sleep timing consistency. Are you going to bed the same hour or within the same time frame, 30 to 60-minute differentiation every night? Are you waking up the same time every morning? That is so important, especially for your circadian rhythm. Are you getting sunlight the first 10 to 15 minutes of your day when the sun is up? So sleep timing consistency is extremely important. Nutrition timing. Like I said, if you're not an intermittent fasting type individual, are you getting in protein forward meals? And if you do intermittent fast, when you break your fast, is your first meal a protein forward meal? Light exposure. Like I said, are you going outside that first 10 to 15 minutes in the morning and getting in the sunlight? That is my first cognitive reset of the day before I open up my first protected decision window. I will walk for 10 to 20 minutes, no radio, no podcast, nothing, just silence. Because we are so inundated with inputs from digital, from everything. We're more accessible, but our brain is finite. Our brain is not accessible like that. So we're trying to put unlimited, infinite information in a finite system that wasn't created for that. So what are you doing to quiet your mind? And this goes beyond, did I just sleep? So that's what I went back earlier to when I said, it's more than just tracking. Yes, I know I could tell you my sleep score. And obviously last night was not the greatest. I could tell you my steps. I could tell you my tracking. I could tell you my nutrition. I could tell you all of that. But it's more than just that. Did you stabilize your system? I've had leaders say, I've slept 7 hours, but I still feel off. And when we look at it, there's bedtime variability by 2 to 3 hours, a lot of late night stimulation. Are we turning those phones down 30 to 60 minutes before bed? What is our bedtime routine like? Are we actually sleeping? And I know this sounds very health intensive, but we have to realize that it's the biological systems that undergird, that's your foundation for your leadership sustainability and your leadership longevity. So you have a lot of late night stimulations. Are you working late into the night? Do you have a cutoff time? Are you answering emails 1 o'clock in the morning? Do you have a good wind down system in place? If you don't, your body never stabilizes. And when you go to sleep, you're just taking all that stimulation into your sleep. So you might have slept 7 hours and had a good duration of sleep, but your quality of sleep is extremely poor. So you're never really stabilizing. You don't need perfect sleep. You need predictable sleep patterns. The second part of the recovery system is active recovery. This is your midday system. And this one is the one that is most ignored and most critical, because leaders try to sustain output continuously, but the brain doesn't work that way. So what's happening is you're constantly making decisions. You have no cognitive unloading. You don't have a moment where you just stop. And that's the importance of a cognitive reset. I take a cognitive reset, or I try to. I'm not perfect at it, but I try to take one every 90 minutes and just stop and not look at emails, not look at DMs, not look at text messages, and just unwind, quiet, listen to green noise, go for a walk, stretch. Because like I said, we're in a digital world now. So there's constant inputs. We're constantly accessible, constantly available. So by mid-afternoon, our decision quality drops because we have extreme cognitive load that leads to decision fatigue and decision degradation. So for 10 to 20 minutes, no input, no phone, no conversation. This is not a break. Like I said, it is a cognitive reset. And yes, you do get to get your steps into if you do walks for cognitive reset. But the main thing is to protect your cognitive capacity. Here's an example of this. Leaders will say, my afternoons are slower. But the reality is you had back-to-back windows, no reset, high decision load. So your system is overloaded. There was never a break in between. Some of you are not even breaking to eat or even go to the restroom. You may be saving the company and the corporation time, but what you're doing is quietly breaking down your internal leadership infrastructure. And these are the physiological drivers that protect that. And do you have a weekly system in place? That's the third thing. And this is where long-term performance is protected, and almost no one does this intentionally. So when I say relax, cognitive reset is not getting into bed, doom scrolling, not watching your favorite reality show, which I will wind down to a point, but then I turn everything off. Passive downtime. You're not really intentional. Either it's not scheduled or your body puts you down, so you have no physical options but to be down. You're off work, but you're still mentally on because you're thinking about work and you're thinking about the emails and you're thinking about all the things that's left undone. Are you intentionally disconnecting? Are you creating thinking space? Do you ever just stop? And part of your reset is an identity recalibration. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago about identity drift. Because the person that you start out being, the person that you thought you wanted to be once you attain the goal, is no longer that person. Are you stopping along the way every day? Is this goal still achievable? Is this what I wanted? Is this the life I want to live? Because that's an invisible sign of burnout too. You get to the end of the road and what should have felt like a victory feels like a quiet defeat. And let me tell you why this matters. Because as you scale, your decisions are going to get heavier. Your identity must evolve because the person that started the journey will not be the person that ends the journey. You're going to grow and you're going to stretch. I've never heard anyone say that there was any growth. There was, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted myself. But yes, there is no growth in the comfort zone. And when you grow, you're going to stretch. And it is extremely uncomfortable. I'm personally right now in a growing season, and it is not the most comfortable. And if I didn't have systems in place to support that, it will be almost painful. So if you don't create space for that, you're not going to be able to stay operational. I've had leaders say, I don't feel as sharp as I used to, but the reality is there's no thinking time. You're in constant execution mode. And in this complex corporate landscape, that's the norm now. Things are changing at breakneck speed. We're in constant execution mode. The digital arena, and especially with AI, has gotten us more attached to our phones. So we're on constant go time, which is just keeping our cortisol in an elevated space. We're not intentionally taking any space to recalibrate. Most people, like I said, their downtime is literally when their body puts them down and shuts down. But you want to intentionally unplug. When recovery is built, you will stop seeing inconsistent clarity, slower decisions, more rework, and emotional reactivity. Let me ask you this: which layer is currently missing for you? Is it the baseline, your daily? Is it your midday? You're having a slump? Or is it strategic? You don't even have a strategy in place. Like I said, you just fall into bed and that completes your day. And I'm going to be honest, I was one of those people. My morning routine is still great. Midday, it's better now that I've intentionally placed cognitive resets. But before, I didn't have any cognitive resets. And especially coming from a high acuity environment, working in the hospital, there are several times that I didn't go to the restroom. Several times I did not take a break in a 12 to 13 hour period. And I didn't strategically plan a wind down. I was just so exhausted from the day. I just took a shower and fell into bed. And then when you're sleeping, your subconscious is playing everything that happened in the day. So you're not really getting quality of sleep because your brain is ruminating and trying to solve the problems and suss out all the things that you didn't get to intentionally think about and reset during the day. If you take nothing else from what I'm talking about today, I want you to ask yourself, how do you feel? What in the system is missing? Because your performance doesn't break randomly. It breaks predictably, structurally, and repeatedly. What you don't measure, you can't manage. So if you're not being intentional, that means you're not intentionally managing your recovery system. So here's what I want you to do. If this resonated with you, I want you to go to my link and download the Executive Capacity Audit, book a strategic executive longevity call with me so we could talk about what's missing, what to fix first, or DM me recovery and I'll walk you through it directly. I hope you got some tidbits of some nuggets today, some aha moments from today's LinkedIn Live. And I'll see you tomorrow at 12:30.